This is Sania Mirza's last slam, and this is her 21st year on the circuit. I mean, she's the only Indian female athlete to compete at 4 Olympic Games. Vishakha, I want to ask you this. I mean, firstly, obviously an emotional moment for all three of us and for every Indian tennis fan. But will this void be filled, or the emptiness is here to stay?
To be very honest, first of all, I gotta say, I mean, just saying what you said, that Sania Mirza is an iconic legend for India and for tennis as well. And she will be sorely missed on the tour by everyone. And I think the void that she's going to leave anytime soon, there's not going to be one player or one name that's going to fill that void, or maybe just women's tennis as well. It's going to leave a void for Indian tennis, regardless of the gender or the tour. And I think anytime soon there won't be anybody who will equal her or surpass her. But that does not mean that we don't have good names. That does not mean that there's absolutely no hope. That's not what I would say. So it'll take its time, but surely I think we'll get used to it.
Is the reason I fell in love with tennis, along with Federer, Nadal, Sania Mirza back in 2004, 2005. She's the reason I picked up the racket.
Oh,
And
wow.
after all these years, I've been following her journey very closely. And yeah, it's the day she stops playing tennis, which is this end of this season. It's gonna be a sad day for Indian tennis. But at the same time, I think we should celebrate her career because she, for me, she's the greatest women's Indian tennis player ever. And
Hmm.
yeah, I just hope she goes deep in the tournament. I hope she wins. I mean, that will be great. But again,
Hmm.
I just want to see, man. I'm gonna watch every round, both the mixed doubles and women's doubles, and yeah, very excited to see her at this year's Open.
Vishakha, how closely have you followed her over the years, and how emotional are you? How do you feel?
I cannot even begin to express how sad I am going to be the day she retires, because not just for Indians, I think she has been an inspiration to millions around the globe, and she will always be a forever legend. And like Abhijeet said, she's the reason why he picked up the racket. She's the reason why I probably started following Indian tennis
Hmm.
more closely. She was one of the reasons why I used to be inspired as a little child. When she was at the peak of her career, I used to read her names in the newspapers and everywhere else. Everybody used to talk about her. And I just have really good memories about, when it comes to Sanya. I've even seen her play once. So that
Hmm.
was sort of a fangirl moment, because I was quite young at the time, and I couldn't believe my eyes that Sania Mirza and I are right in front of each other. And it's just, she's done plenty, not just for Indian tennis, but for
Hmm.
women as well. She has been a source of inspiration for so many
Totally.
people. And, it's just the end of an era. It makes me sad. At
Yeah.
Wimbledon, when she made the semis in mixed doubles, so that was quite a big moment, and I felt really good that she could go that far. That was her last Wimbledon, and like Abhijit said, even I am going to watch every match. I'm going to watch as much as I can. So yeah, that's there. But we should totally celebrate her career, and I think we're very, very lucky to have had somebody like her for Indian tennis.
Totally, totally. The queen of India.
Was the India's lone superstar, a women's superstar in sports since like the post PT Usha period, and before Saina Nehwal and PV Sindhu came. She was the only one. And of course, world number 27 in singles, 6 times, Grand Slam champion. She's the best. I mean, anybody who comes now, that's the benchmark they have, right?
Mhm.
And of course, the likes of Ankita Rana, Rutuja Bhosle, Karman, they have done a very good job. But of course,
Yeah.
uh, I feel like next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have that kind of void, at least at Grand Slam level. But then
Mm.
I'm hopeful for the Indian future. And there are a couple of names I would like to say. There's this girl called Shruti Halawat. She's from
Mm-hmm.
Haryana. She's a 15-year-old kid. And I think she's India's best tennis talent since Sania. So yeah,
Wow.
watch out for Shruti Halabad. There's another girl from my home city of Pune. Her name is Vaishnavi Adkar. She's also
Mhm.
17-year-old, and she's gonna switch to the women's.
Leander Pace, Mahesh Bhupati, Sania Mirza, they weren't too famous or too successful at the time. So we can
Right.
only be hopeful and be optimistic that, maybe how they translated their journey,
Mhm.
maybe, they could act as a source of inspiration to those players and go ahead with that.
Right, and I think if we can get more attention to tennis, I mean more conversations around tennis.
Absolutely.
That's I think one of the biggest things because I heard Rohan Bopana say this. If you want to grow tennis, you need to talk more about tennis. So the talking has
Absolutely.
to increase, and as fans, we would want to see our Indian stars shine at Grand Slams, and we live for those moments, and we would cheer them the loudest. But again, Abhijit, what in your understanding is most fundamental at this point? What is already happening because you're tracking tennis on the grassroots very closely, you're covering it. What is already being implemented and what you feel should be done to get us to those Grand Slams, get our men and women into the main draws?
Sure. So as I mentioned these names, right, we definitely have talent. Now, as you know, tennis still remains a very expensive sport. So this
Mm,
funding, that has always been a problem. But now I see the National Association and the state associations, they all are really paying attention to that. MSLT is doing a good job, ITA is doing a good job, DLTA is doing a good job. So it's just that, of course, more efforts are needed from the associations. But at the same time, if some more sponsors come in, I think that will be great because I saw what JSW did or Go Sports is doing in South.
yeah,
And that really made the difference, right? Because of like we saw what happened with Neeraj Chopra or what's happening in badminton. We need something like that. I think the
yeah,
funding is very essential.
exactly.
And as you said, I'm so glad you are, talking about tennis. We have to improve the entire ecosystem. We need to talk about tennis more. I hope more people start playing tennis. I hope more people start attending tennis events. And as the ecosystem gets better, the level of tennis will rise. So yeah, those are my 2 cents on that topic.
Right. I think we're running short of time. As Indian tennis fans, we are very optimistic. We feel the future is still bright. There's light at the end of this tunnel that looks like a dark tunnel at this point, but there's a lot of light ahead. There is hope. We have some really good 14, 15-year-olds coming up, like Abhijit mentioned. And we'll keep cheering them on. We'll keep praying and hoping that Indian tennis turns around for the good. That's all for now.